welcome back to an original podcast of Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we help people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. We're also very interested in hearing about recovery stories, as your host here is in long-term recovery from drug and alcohol addiction, and to show not the horror stories, but what happened and how you did it. That's the deal that we're talking about. So if you're interested in any of these things, if you're interested in empowering your life and getting back your self-concept and self-esteem, please join us on the adventure. And today, I'm Jim Mellermeyer, and I'm Jim Mellermeyer every day, as far as I know. I'm joined by the co-host of this program and the producer, good friend, Mr. Mike.
Hello, good to be back with you once again, Jim.
As I'm back into being a full-time therapist and seeing people in person, it again reminds me of the issues that when we're dealing with filtered reality.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say the term filtered reality, what does that mean to you, Mike?
It kind of sounds like, a virtual reality, a Matrix, the Matrix movie, because the reality was what was presented to them, right?
Yes. So, and again, I've said this dozens of times on this show, but it irritates me so much that young ladies begin to lose their self-concept around 9 years old. When I look at 4 and 5 years old, because of course I've had grandchildren, I've had kids, they have a sense of self. They can be independent. They can be selfish. They speak their mind. One of the first words that a child learns is no. They have a sense of self. They have a sense of identity. However, that begins to go out the window when they begin to get exposed to unfiltered reality.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm talking about unfiltered reality, Mike, I'm talking about social media influencers, SMIs, and the product that they put out.
Okay. So we're talking about like the beauty tip girls and the dancing and and things like that, right?
There's nobody that looks like me as a social influencer.
That's right.
No, there's no one that looks like me. They turn the channel on. Don't blame them. But however, they're all beautiful young girls or handsome, stunning men. And they live these lives that people think that, why can't I live that?
Yeah, I know our friend Dutters that was on, Katie Dutters that was on the show a few times, was talking to me over the holidays about how the few days afterwards you get everybody with their hauls, their holiday hauls. So of course they're rich people that have just got like crazy piles of presents or something, and they just film them and put them on TikTok, because it's like, okay, good for you. Not everybody has that situation right now. And then, if you're good enough to afford a phone and have TikTok, now you're seeing that and wondering, why can't I have that?
So these young people look at these people as heroes. They look at them as idols, something that they want to obtain.
Yes.
These influencers never talk about going to work. They never talk about cleaning toilets. They never talk about doing laundry. What they talk about is, I have a wonderful life and you can too. So what they're doing is they're selling a myth. They're selling fantasy. And the key word here is selling.
In a more direct way than like we're used to advertisers and beauty products and clothing lines and just the general, things they're representing on TV, the Hallmark movieization of things, right? This is more direct because this seems more real, right?
So obviously, we've talked about this before, and of course, I try to help people get a purpose in their life. I try to have them develop some type of a passion. However, I hear a whole lot of meditation people and influence out there talk about, well, that's all you need to do. And they live in this fantasy world of convincing people that all they do is walk through forests playing magic flutes and petting squirrels.
I've always been, because I follow some business people, right? Some business influencers, I guess you could call them, right? And it's like, all you have to do is this, and this. So it's like, well, that's great because that worked for you. You're on the other side of it. And you're like, this is all I had to do. Also, maybe you were in the right place at the right time with the thing you did to get to that. We talk about the 10-year overnight success, right? It looks easy enough. Okay, how do I get to you? Now the responsible ones are saying, guys, it took me 10 years to get this. Like, it took me 10 years of failing to get this. It took me 20 years of failing to get this. It's okay if you're not there yet. There's certain things in my life with that where it's like, okay, I've been at this for 15 years. There's certain things I have not accomplished, but actually I got more time,
Well, I've mentioned this before. I used to listen to this sports podcast years and years ago. Bill Curry called himself the mouse of the mouth of the South. And somebody called in and talked about the ninth inning. They talk about the closer coming in and the pressure he was under. And Bill Curry's response was, that's not pressure. When the rent's due tomorrow and you don't have the money, that's pressure. So most people that I know, Mike, and maybe a lot of it you do, we're dealing with life situations every day. We're dealing with putting gas in the car, going to work, feeding our family, paying the gas bill, doing the laundry, doing all those type of things, dealing with rising prices. And those things are never addressed. So what I try to do is present people with a conception and the trueness, straight talk of reality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know that most people just can't take the afternoon off and go in a mud bath, okay?
Yeah.
Or go have stone massages.
Just go have a massage. I have been trying to rack my brain for 5 years to figure out how, when, and where I'm going to go get a massage. I have not figured it out for the life of me.
Well, first of all, when we talk about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the bottom is safety, shelter, food, and that's what people's basic concerns are. They're but then they're sitting cleaning the toilet at home, maybe watching TikTok doing these things, and this beautiful person is doing these beautiful things in this beautiful environment, and you're scrubbing toilets. And you're thinking, why can't I live like that? This is unattainable. And this is why I determined the title of this podcast would be Filtered Reality, because it's through, I don't know what these people look like without all the filters and all the settings, and I don't know. I'd like to see it.
Yeah. What is the real day? You ever see? I watched some behind the scenes, and it's interesting because the actresses were just used to like what Scarlett Johansson looks like, or this person and this person, and then you see them without the makeup, and it's like a striking difference, right? A lot of wrestler friends, I see them not done up like they're going in front of people. It's you think of this person as they always look like this. It's like, well, what do they look like when they get up in the morning? Those kinds of ideas.
Unfortunately, most people live paycheck to paycheck. Okay, and they're trying to squeeze out those last 2 days when the money's gone until they get paid again.
Yep. And
most of the people aren't blowing their paychecks on frivolous things like gambling, alcohol, and drugs.
Yep.
They're paying the rent.
Yep.
They got to feed their children. They got to clothe their children, and dealing with the unfiltered reality that teenagers deal with. Over 80% of people aged 13 to 19 get most of their information from social media. It's not the news. It's not their friends. It's social media.
There's probably less of the gathering around a television, and that's I grew up in whatever was on the TV. That was the information coming in, or magazines or whatnot, right? And now they can be themselves in their room, on their phone, wherever, and it's like, again, great access, but also maybe not the greatest things to be accessing, right?
Well, I ask people to take the Stoic view of studied indifference, because there seems to be some, again, this recency bias, influenced by the last thing you see, hear, or read. It used to be that when, let's say, I'm showing my age now, Walter Cronkite, whoever, respected newscasters, when they said something on TV, you believed it.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, that's carried over. When these persons say something, the influencers say something, then of course it has to be true.
Whatever the source you're presented is the one that you believe. the one that's in front of you, right?
Mike, and again, keep in mind the people who come to see me aren't coming in on a white horse.
Yeah.
But every single female, it doesn't matter what age that I deal with, every single female does not like their body and does not like the way they look.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So where do they get that perception from?
Yeah, from what they see on the phone, on the TV.
Absolutely. So what we try to work on in my practice is internal validation versus external validation.
Yeah, and I've, and I'm sure not as severe as, and actually I do know some people that have had some body dysmorphia, some guys that have had some body dysmorphia issues around professional wrestling, because it's a very show-off kind of business, right? And those guys are doing it and work on it every day and still not happy with how they look, right? To me, I'm a video producer around wrestling, so I tend to hang out with a lot of fit and beautiful people. It's like part of my job, right? Between that and MMA and things like that. And just like, oh, I've at least reasoned, while I do try to work out, I have reasoned I will not look like this person. It's their job to look like that, right? That's a difference, right? The fitness instructor that I watch on my Apple Fitness, it's their job to look that good, So like that is not an attainable necessarily, but it is something to strive towards. But it's okay if I don't get there, and be happy with like, I feel better, good, moving on.
So what you're doing is you're practicing acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people who are genetically presupposed
Yes.
to be larger.
Yep. And it's one thing I do like about I've noticed this with Apple Fitness is there are a lot of fitness instructors that are representing different body types, right? They're obviously working out, they're obviously doing the thing, but for whatever reason, their body just does it a different way. Things happen. I just read. Sorry, just one more. I was just thinking about somebody who is somebody I actually got to meet, a former WWE person. She was in Playboy back in the day. Has had 2 kids, still on television. And she just had a video the other day about how like she had a thyroid thing and now her body doesn't react the way it used to. And this is somebody who her entire life has been her body type and her fitness. And now she has a re-identity thing going on there, right? You don't know what those people have to go through to look the way they do.
Well, some of it is enhanced by drugs, or other it is just
Yes.
a full-time job of literally them torturing themselves
Yeah.
through exercise and some type of a abysmal diet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I used to go to this fitness place. I'm not going to name it. And I didn't fit in there because the guys were all roided out. The girls looked like they'd spent $500 on their workout costume.
These are not my people.
No. And then again, this is a plug, I guess, for Planet Fitness. But there's people there that look like me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Isn't it more comfortable to go to a place where you feel like you fit in?
Absolutely. I don't want to go to the place where all my pro wrestling friends work out. Unless they're helping me figure it out.
Yeah, well, it might be nice to film it and watch them go through their workouts so they can, maybe present that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, one time, I forget, there was a Pirate pitcher. I forget who it was, but he was a white guy. The rest of the team was people of color that particular day. And Willie Stargell came in off of first base and looked at, I think it was Jim, I can't remember his name, Jim Rooker it was. And Willie Stargell looked at him and says, "How does it feel to be a marshmallow in a box of bonbons?"
Celebrate the differences, right?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Well, anyways, today sports seems to be where there is a meshing. It is a melting pot. And fortunately, you and I live in Pittsburgh, where there is more of a melting pot type of philosophy here, where
Absolutely.
people generally get along and
Mm-hmm.
don't judge other people's lifestyles. So that's what these social influencers bring out, whether it's intentional or not. But it brings out a lot of comparisons.
Absolutely.
So one of the biggest comparisons, particularly for young ladies, is what are they wearing? And when they go to school, are they going to be made fun of?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because maybe your parents can't afford to buy the latest fashion, the brand name.
Because everybody's looking at the fashions on TikTok now.
Oh,
It's even
absolutely.
worse.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I know we've talked about this before that bothers me the most is these wannabe mental health so-called professionals
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok and social media that tell you what worked in their lives. It may not work in yours, but it's so hurtful. There's consequences to this type of unintended advice. They're telling people what to do with mental health, and most of these people have no experience, no education in it at all,
Mm-hmm.
and they're telling you what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard a lot of them say that you shouldn't be going to doctors, you shouldn't be going to therapists. You can figure this out. Listen to us.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, great, that worked for you, but it's not necessarily the prescription that's going to work for me.
Well, amazingly enough, all of these TikTok therapists happen to be beautiful women
Oh.
and handsome men. So it's been proven over and over again that people take what a beautiful person says to them as more literal truth than let's say, an average looking person
Mhm.
would give them the same advice. But these people who are beautiful, well, they have something going on. So they listen to them. And I know that, you're a social media guy, and we've talked before about kind of the paradox of us having these shows. And I think this is number 404, about you help people connect and I help people disconnect.
Yes. Well, we're kind of the yin and the yang when it comes to that, isn't it?
Yes, we are.
But I'm hoping I'm helping people mindfully connect.
I hope so.
So
I know that you have no ill intentions in mind. But people everyone wants to be famous for 15 minutes. That used to be a thing.
Absolutely.
They want to be an influencer.
I have a company I work for was like, how do we go viral? And I was like, well, you went viral. And what did you get? What did you get out of it? Like, that's not what you should be building right now, right?
Well, it's the return on investment.
Absolutely.
And if you're using social media as just some escapism, like watching an Ernest Goes to Jail movie.
Just so funny because I actually watched Ernest Saves Christmas over the holidays.
Just so, just to have some mind time that's not worried or anything. That's a spa moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're viewing these things as some type of a reward for getting things done, but keep in mind that what you're looking at, and listen and make a wise mind.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this with a wise mind and find out how real this is.
Absolutely.
So I think I've got that off my chest today. This unfiltered reality. It's just that as a therapist, I deal with this every day.
And I think I'd be interested if anybody wants to kind of chime in on our social media, listening to this episode. Are you, do you find yourself kind of being influenced by these things? Do you have somebody that you're seeing kind of reacting to too much TikTok, the wrong kind of TikTok? Any anecdotes out there? Please share those, whether it be on our social media at Without Bait on Twitter and Fishing Without Bait on most other platforms, or you can hit us up on the contact form over at fishingwithoutbait.com. And all DMs are open as well. We don't have to discuss public, but we'd love to hear from you and have a conversation with it. Jim loves talking to I know I see Jim in the DMs here from time to time, so talking with the listeners out there.
Well, just a little heads up on some upcoming guests.
Mm-hmm.
Jace Carr, the professional wrestler, will be returning hopefully next week.
He's been doing some great stuff. Yeah, look up Jace Carr on JayceKarr. He over on our IndieWrestling.us sister channel over there. I will say that the most recent match is little SFW. Got a little bloody, but if you want to see what he's up to, he's having a lot of fun, and even teamed up with the Grinch over the holidays. So yes,
they just hard grow 3 sizes that day.
Somebody's dead. Somebody's dead.
I guess. So, and another special treat on January the 29th, Santina Grace, the clairvoyant medium, will be joining us again, who has so many insights into life and life's meaning that she's absolutely fabulous.
Absolutely. We're recording January 29th. Look for those episodes probably coming sometime in February after
Yes.
recording.
We're also going to reconnect out with Dr. Fred Moss, the unpsychiatrist who undiagnoses people from California. And as always, if you want to unlock some extra material from Fishing Without Bait, we ask you to consider becoming a patron.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Every dollar helps keep this up.
Yep.
You know, we've been fortunate enough to be able to fund this show for the last X number of years. I have no idea how long we've been on, Mike.
At least 6 years.
Yes, we've been doing it for quite a while. So at the end, we offer a free prescription: fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. If we're all not the Creator's children, none of us are. Be good to yourself. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste.
If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.